Today's show is going to be a lot about those patterns that I've noticed, particularly with all the leaders that I've worked with. But I thought, why bring just my perspective when I could bring probably even better perspective? And so I brought my good friend and colleague, Randy Hain, on the show. Randy, so good to have you back.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, and so I was joking. I don't know what number show I've had you on, but this is definitely a number something close to 10 at least. I mean, we're getting up there in the number. So Randy, just so the folks that maybe have not been listening for very long and maybe don't know who you are. So you're president of Servient Partners, and just like me, you're an executive coach. And just like me, you've got coaches across all different functions, all different industries, men and women alike that are trying to lead either the businesses or other people.
Yes.
And so I reached out to you and said, all right, Randy, I want you to put together your list of maybe top 3 things you've seen your clients work through, your leaders work through this year. And I've got my kind of top 3 here. And I thought it might be good for us to kind of go compare and contrast our lists.
I've been looking forward to this.
Really looking forward to this. I can tell.
I have.
And so what usually happens, so for those of you that have listened to our exchanges before, you'll notice we end up with more similarities than differences. Even we don't plan it that way. We really truly come in with different lists, but we end up with more similarities than differences. I don't know if that speaks more to our similarities or to patterns we see, but I don't know what's going to happen this time. So we'll just have to see. So Randy, I am going to start by asking you for your number 3. What was number 3 on your list?
When I think about all the leaders I worked with this year, I put a lot of thought in this list. One of the most common themes, and it's quite frankly every year, it's not just this year, has been lack of personal self-awareness. Lack of personal self-awareness.
Personal is this like that old Seinfeld episode, the close talker? That would be personal space.
Close talker. It's when folks just don't really understand how they're coming across to others.
Okay.
It's they are in a meeting and they say something and they don't really understand that people are rolling their eyes and looking at their iPhones. It's when people don't mean to be harsh and critical, but they leave people feeling badly after they walk away from a meeting with them. It can cover a number of different things, but it's that lack of awareness of how I'm coming across to other people, how the impression I leave upon you when we're together. I think it's a lot of that. So when I'm working with clients that struggle with personal awareness, obviously, just like you, at the beginning of a coaching engagement, we do a very extensive 360 process. So I'm going to interview somewhere between 12 and 20 people that know this individual well. And I'm asking them a lot of questions about how they view this person, the perception. And from that, and from Berkman assessment, and from our time together, I'm able to help that person really understand this is how you are seen. Now, maybe 80% of it's spot on, 20%'s not. But by and large, this is going to give us a really good understanding of how you come across to others. So I find the lack of self-awareness is a real challenge, but there are ways to combat it, as you well know.
So, all right. So let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Their lack of self-awareness, so they may not be aware of the fact that they've offended somebody in the meeting, or said something that maybe didn't land the way they wanted it to. Are they help me understand the difference between, and help our listeners understand the difference between, there's lack of self-awareness, which all of us can be maybe a little bit, have that be a challenge for us at times. What's the difference between that and coachability?
That's a good question. Now, I think when you think about when someone has an executive coach, for most of them, it's their first time working with a coach. Now, there are some exceptions, but by and large, most of the clients I work with, I may be the first executive coach they've worked with. So it's also, in my experience, this is probably another show, where there's a lack of candid feedback that goes on in business. People are not really giving each other good, insightful feedback about who they are, how they come across, whatever. So picture them working with a coach for the first time. And usually we are the ones that are helping them understand that they have a self-awareness issue. So I think that working with a coach, maybe for the first time, maybe one of the first times you've started to go down this path of understanding how you come across to others. But the other part of your question, which is very interesting, is, are they coachable? And that's one of the key questions I ask every client at the beginning of an engagement before we ever sign the scope of work. Are you coachable? Because I tell them we're going to get uncomfortable. This will not be a lot of attaboys, attagirls. It's not going to be wonderful at times. It's going to feel difficult and painful because we have to look in the mirror and understand the self-awareness and other things that we need to work on. So asking people if they're coachable is always a key question. I've had one person in the last many years say they were not coachable.
Oh, so they actually told you?
They actually told me, you know what, now that I think about it, I'm probably not ready to be coached. And I appreciated the candor. I really appreciated the honesty of it. And we decided it was not the right time to engage. But everyone else, when they think about it and understand what's going to be asked of them, are willing to embark on that journey with me.